They called it the City of the Future, a neighborhood built not on history, but on a blueprint. Towers shaped like honeycombs, subways that floated above the trees, and green parks threaded between the buildings of steel and glass. This was Bijlmer, Amsterdam's boldest experiment, a utopian dream carved out of concrete, designed to separate living from working, cars from people, noise from peace. It was efficient, it was logical, and it was massive. At one point, it became the largest housing project the Netherlands had ever attempted, a symbol of post-war optimism and modernist ambition. But what happens when a place is designed too perfectly on paper and not enough for the people meant to live inside it? The answers lie in what Bijlmer became and what it never had the chance to be. If you're curious to uncover the full story, like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Let's begin. Once upon a time, Bijlmer wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a manifesto in concrete, a city inside a park, a clean slate for modern life, designed by visionaries not grown from the ground up. At its peak, it was the largest housing project in Dutch history, built during an era when the Netherlands, like much of Europe, faced a housing crisis after World War II. There weren't enough homes, but there were bold ideas. The architects behind CIAM, an elite group of modernist planners, believed that cities should no longer evolve organically. They should be engineered from above, neatly divided into zones for work, leisure, housing, and transit. Tall buildings far apart, green spaces in between, sunlight for all, air, order, efficiency. On paper, it made sense, but paper cities don't always survive real life. Amsterdam had just completed 4 new districts, but demand kept rising. City leaders wanted more. They turned to the east, to a patch of undeveloped land called Bijlmermeer. A political tug-of-war began. One city wanted to keep it. Amsterdam wanted to claim it. They fought not just over land, but over the right to shape the future. In the end, Amsterdam won, and in winning inherited a dream too perfect for the world it was built in. In another version of history, Amsterdam lost the fight. Bijlmer remained a distant satellite, untouched by city politics. But in this reality, Amsterdam won, and with it came a dream. A dream of living above the chaos, literally. Homes were lifted off the ground. Cars followed elevated roads, pedestrians walked below, and not a single raindrop touched your commute. This was a city in a park, quiet, green, and carefully removed from the grid of traditional Europe. No crowded corners, no narrow alleyways, just geometry, sunshine, and open space. The apartments? Massive. 3 bedrooms, storage rooms, full kitchens, stacked like sculpted modules of steel and concrete, crafted for middle-class Dutch families. Compared to Amsterdam's cramped old quarters, these units were futuristic. Where you once had to share a bathroom, here you had a private one. Where balconies were rare, here they were standard. And best of all, nature wasn't sacrificed for any of it. Running paths, playgrounds, communal green belts woven into the layout like threads. This wasn't just housing, it was an ideology. Density without pressure, community without clutter, suburbia without the commute. For a while it looked flawless. But perfection built from above rarely accounts for what happens on the ground. And slowly, that distance, the very thing designed to feel liberating, began to feel like something else entirely. The building stood 11 stories tall. Each ground floor, storage space, no shops, no cafes, just concrete silence. It was meant to give residents privacy, but it also erased life from the street. Inside the honeycomb towers, corridors led to common areas and interior walkways, but few used them. The layout was too perfect, too empty. It felt like a blueprint, not a neighborhood. Transportation was divided across 3 layers: bikes below, cars in the middle, elevated trains above. Elegant in theory, but in practice, disconnected. The subway was delayed. The towers were finished, but half were empty. And in the shadows beneath those buildings, something else began to take hold. Vacancy, silence, And soon, stories. Stories of people who came to find opportunity but stayed trapped. Stories of units overtaken by squatters, of alleys that felt more like hiding spots than public space. Families didn't flock here, they fled. Those who could afford homes elsewhere did so. And the ones who remained, they watched the utopia slowly sour. What went wrong? Was it the design, the timing, the people, or was it the very idea that a city could be engineered from a sketch? Belmer was never short on vision, but visions don't pay for maintenance, or security, or the public services that were promised, but never fully delivered. Without enough residents paying rent, the financial model began to crack. Parking garages meant to be convenient became dark, unwatched spaces. Alleys beneath the towers, once imagined as community walkways, grew cold and quiet, perfect places to disappear. The dream was fading, and with it came fear. Instead of attracting middle-class Dutch families, Belmer became a landing zone for those with nowhere else to go. In 1975, when Suriname gained independence, thousands fled the political vacuum, but the welcome they found in the Netherlands was lukewarm at best. With housing in high demand and few willing to live in Belmer, the answer was obvious. Place them here. It wasn't just about architecture anymore. Now it was about identity, stigma, and neglect. Some towers, like the infamous Heesterveld block, became nearly homogeneous in demographics. Not by design, but by abandonment. Overcrowding grew. So did pressure on already strained infrastructure. And with every headline about crime, with every whisper of danger, fewer people chose to move in. The reputation worsened, and the cycle fed itself. Was it poverty that shaped the perception, or the perception that deepened the poverty? Either way, Belmer wasn't just isolated by roads and rail anymore. It was becoming emotionally invisible to the rest of the city and to the country that built it. In the heart of Amsterdam, people watch the streets. There are eyes on every corner, neighbors, workers, life flowing in and out. That's what keeps a city alive. But in Belmer, there weren't enough eyes, too much space, too few people. Isolation, once marketed as privacy, became vulnerability, and what was meant to feel calm started to feel unsafe. By the 1990s, the dream had fractured. The city couldn't ignore the stigma anymore. And then, tragedy struck. In 1992, a cargo plane crashed directly into one of Belmer's towers. It remains the deadliest aviation disaster on Dutch soil. And for many residents, it felt like the final confirmation. This place was never truly protected. In the years that followed, Amsterdam began tearing Belmer down. Nearly two-thirds of the original towers were demolished. In their place, low-rise homes, private gardens, safer streets, designed not to inspire, but to repair. Today, Belmer stands as a case study in utopia undone, a warning about what happens when a city is built without listening to the people who must live in it. So what do we really want from our cities? Perfect plans or imperfect communities that still feel like home? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you feel that pull to keep searching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.